Deals. And Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here.
When I was younger, I used to think that Barry Bonds was part of what was wrong with the game of baseball. Using an unfair competitive advantage to get ahead of the opposition is everything we're taught not to do as kids. Play fair, play by the rules, and do things the right way. But unfortunately, the world we live in today paints a very different picture. Winning at all costs unfortunately means all costs. And in the case of baseball, this specifically comes in the form of performance-enhancing drugs. And nobody in baseball in the modern era is more closely associated with steroid use than Barry Lamar Bonds. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know the basic story. Barry Bonds had a long, illustrious career of sheer video game numbers that will probably never be matched. 762 home runs, a career OPS north of 1,000, a .298 career batting average, 7-time league MVP, 14-time All-Star, you get the idea. His career 164.4 F4 and 173 WRC+ solidify the fact that he's one of the best players to ever play the game of baseball. Unfortunately, the story of Barry Bonds is thoroughly incomplete without acknowledging his performance-enhancing drug use. He was named in the Mitchell Report, implicated in the Balco scandal. By all accounts, including that of a younger, more naive me, Bonds is a cheater. His records don't count, and he shouldn't be involved in any discussion of the greatest baseball players of all time. Yeah, cool story, bro. Now here's his career before he allegedly started using steroids. Between his debut in 1986 and 1997, the last year quote-unquote pre-steroid era, Bonds hit 374 home runs, second in all of baseball in that span, behind only Mark McGwire, and accumulated a 91.8 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, by far the highest over that span. His 162 OPS plus, which is the index measuring OPS adjusted for ballpark dimensions across the league, trails only Frank Thomas over that same time span. Only Otis Nixon, Vince Coleman, and Rickey Henderson stole more bases than Bonds in that time period. Any way you slice it, he's a Hall of Famer, before he even turned to PEDs. For whatever reason, people who talk about Barry Bonds' steroid use don't acknowledge the complexities of the steroid era. It wasn't just Bonds. It also wasn't just Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Jose Canseco, Jason Giambi, Roger Clemens, and other big-name players who were suspected and confirmed PED users. It was the entire league. Everyone who aspired to be as successful as the big names had to find some sort of competitive advantage, especially when professional sports represent a multi-billion-dollar industry. You think people won't do whatever they can to reach the summit when the prize is multi-generational wealth? The Mitchell Report, the results of a 20-month investigation into steroid use in baseball by former US Senator George Mitchell, named 89 players who used performance-enhancing drugs throughout the league. That's more than 3 full Major League rosters combined. So why are only the most successful players being scrutinized when others around the league potentially had access to the same substances? Why is Barry Bonds the one who faces the brunt of the criticism for steroid use? It's because he was the best, because he broke seemingly every record, and because he was the dominant force in baseball even into his 40s. Bonds' Hall of Fame candidacy aside, you could also make the argument that steroids saved baseball. In the 80s and 90s, attendance and interest in baseball declined to the point where the 1994 strike was seen as the end of baseball's popularity in the US. America's pastime wasn't its pastime anymore. But in 1998, Mark McGwire of the Cardinals and Sammy Sosa of the Cubs engaged in a home run race the likes of which we haven't seen since. The summer of '98 turned into an enthralling race to see who would hit more home runs. And these weren't just line drives that barely cleared the fence. McGwire and Sosa hit balls to parts unknown, parts that still haven't been reached since. Baseball is more exciting when guys hit balls 500 plus feet. Why do you think we love the home run derby so much? So if you like home runs and you like exciting baseball, why don't you like Barry Bonds? Growth is realizing that Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer and has belonged in the Hall of Fame since his first year of eligibility. He doesn't have the best reputation off the field, but Bonds' performance on the field makes him a Hall of Famer. If you want to make the argument that his conduct off the field takes away from his candidacy, then by all means. But we also have to look at every single member of the Hall of Fame and do the exact same thing. You can't hold today's or yesterday's players to the same standards as players from the 20s and 30s, when the world was vastly different than it is today. Call it revisionist, but times change, and so should our understanding of the complexities of the steroid era. Barry Bonds is the poster child of the steroid era and the corruption of quote-unquote sacred records around the league. Bonds breaking Hank Aaron's record of 755 home runs at the time was widely skepticized by fans everywhere. Some folks still have a hard time reconciling with that very fact. as did I when I was younger. Hank Aaron's status in Braves history is undisputed. The number 755 echoes throughout the organization. 762 just doesn't have the same ring to it for Braves fans. But at some point, you do have to realize how hard it is to hit a home run at the major league level. Barry Bonds did not take steroids to all of a sudden learn how to put the bat on the ball with regularity. He was, again, already a Hall of Fame player. Does a record broken by someone who turned to illegal substances actually count? At face value, no. But when you add in the context of Bonds' pursuit of history, you come to the realization that more than just hitters were using steroids. How come Roger Clemens is the only pitcher who seemingly gets the blame for steroid use? Because he was the best. As the old adage goes, they don't boo nobodies. Barry Bonds belongs in the Hall of Fame. Growth is realizing that very fact. And if you aren't really on board, I don't know how else to convince you. Baseball is supposed to be fun. Let's keep it that way. That's all for this one. Let me know what you think about Barry Bonds' career and Hall of Fame worthiness in the comments below. Am I completely out of my mind for thinking that one of the greatest players ever should actually be recognized as such?
And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.